Steve here. Let's talk about Australia. Now you might picture beaches, maybe some wildlife. That's the tourist view. But if you're a trader, you see it for what it really is, the quarry to the world. This is the engine room for all of global industry.
And just look at this contrast. On one side, you've got the United States, absolutely drowning in $39 trillion of debt. On the other side, Australia. They're not printing money to stay afloat. No, they're digging the future right out of the ground. They produce the actual stuff the world needs to build. They've become the essential vendor, and believe me, business is booming.
So, let's get into why they've earned this title. We're not just talking about some minor supplier here. We are talking about the very foundation of the entire Asian century, and it's all being pulled right out of Australian soil. Now, listen, that is not an exaggeration. It's the simple, hard reality of the global supply chain. If Australia stops digging, the industrial heartlands of Asia just seize up. It's the one ingredient they can't do without for their growth. They literally stop breathing without it.
Let's put a number on this so you can really grasp the scale. We're talking about a $116 billion business, and that's just by 2026. A number that big doesn't just represent profits, it dictates global policy. It moves entire markets.
And here's where their real power comes from. 55%. Australia supplies over half of the entire world's seaborne iron ore. And when we say seaborne, we're talking about the stuff that actually gets put on a ship and sent across an ocean to build the world's cities, cars, and infrastructure. It's an absolute stranglehold on the market.
But, and there's always a but, there's a massive flip side to this coin. You see, every great strength hides a great weakness. And for Australia, its greatest strength is also the source of its single greatest risk, its utter dependency on China.
So it all comes down to one word: concentration. You know, in any business, you put all your eggs in one basket and you're asking for disaster. Well, imagine doing that with an entire national economy. Nearly a third of everything they sell to the world goes to one single customer. That's not a business plan. That's walking on a razor's edge.
This quote, well, it just says it all, doesn't it? It's a marriage of necessity that both sides hate. China absolutely needs that high-grade iron ore to keep its economic machine running. And Australia, well, Australia needs that Chinese money to fund its standard of living. They're locked together in an embrace, and neither of them likes it one bit.
And this chart just lays it all bare. Look at that, 32%. That huge block is China. And with geopolitical lines being redrawn every day, Australia is waking up to the fact that being the quarry for a slowing Chinese economy is a very, very dangerous game. You see, they're tethered to a dragon that's starting to lose its fire.
But the story doesn't stop with iron ore. Not at all. There's another huge piece to this economic puzzle, another pillar that's become even more vital in the world we live in today. So you have to ask yourself, is this really just about rocks? No. It's not just rocks, it's gas. Australia is, without a doubt, an energy superpower. But its power comes with a deep and, frankly, a damaging paradox.
The facts here really do speak for themselves. You're looking at one of the top 3 exporters of liquefied natural gas on the entire planet. With all the instability in the world, these shipments have become a global lifeline. And it's especially true for Asia. Australia supplies a staggering 30% of their entire market.
But here's the great irony. While they ship out trillions of cubic feet of gas to keep the lights on in places like Tokyo and Seoul, back home, their own manufacturing sector is screaming. Why? Because energy prices in Australia are going through the roof. It's a classic case of being energy-rich but policy-poor, and it's creating a crisis for their own people. So you're looking at this complex picture and you're thinking, how do you trade this? Well, you watch the ultimate barometer. You watch the Australian dollar, because the Aussie tells you a story about the entire global economy.
For a trader, it's actually pretty simple. The Aussie dollar is the world's #1 gauge for global growth versus global fear. Its value is tied directly to the demand for everything Australia pulls out of the ground. So when the world is building, optimistic, the Aussie flies. When the world is scared, contracting, the Aussie dies. And right now, the Aussie is caught in a brutal tug-of-war. On one side, you have a massive commodity supercycle trying to push it higher. And on the other, you have a huge geopolitical shock, driven by that slowing China and all this global instability trying to drag it down. It is the absolute focal point of the world's economic conflict.
Which brings us to the final and most critical question. What happens when the world's quarry is built on a glass house? Because hidden underneath all of this incredible export wealth is a domestic housing market that's been propped up by record levels of debt. And that is the next piece of this puzzle.
This is Steve. Watch the price of iron ore finds. It's the pulse of the Pacific. I'll see you at the open.